Oh, word. He's got a Basquiat poster.
Nice.
I definitely got to talk to him about it. That's crazy. I love it. That's one of my favorite movies ever. Yo, yeah, he's got a. Yo, Dame, is that your Basquiat poster?
Yeah, dude.
Yo,
Nice.
that's crazy, bro.
Sick.
That's like one of my favorite movies of all time.
It's such a good and underrated movie. Like it's crazy, dude.
Do you see that in film school also?
Nah, I think I just like saw that on like Netflix one day.
Oh, that's cool, dude. That
Nice.
is nuts. That's nuts. Yeah, do you remember that DVD shelf at Raw?
yeah, it's up there, right?
It's up there, yeah, and that's how I found out about that movie. I've literally been obsessed with Jean-Michel Basquiat ever since.
Yeah, I knew about him beforehand, and this girl that I was like talking to at the time, she was like telling me all about him. And like I was on Netflix one day, and like I just saw the trailer for it, and I was like, damn, this movie looks weird, but like also amazing.
Yeah, it's so good. I love the just like the way they shoot certain things just to kind of like capture his spirit. Like when he looks up at the
Yeah,
sky and there's like a surfer surfing through the
the
sky.
sky, dude, the sky shots were like no, like I haven't seen this anywhere else. Like this is perfect.
Yeah, man, I love that movie. But what's up? How you been, man?
I'm all right, man. Just adjusting, like adjusting, readjusting, adjusting again, and trying to like figure everything out. Like I went to the gym today, and it was just like kind of weird.
No,
Yeah.
I gotta be honest, man. I have not, in terms of like any sort of like gym or bar or even getting on a plane. I don't know
Yeah,
how soon I'm ready to do any of those things right now. I'm pretty scared.
I went super early. I usually go really early, and like going early, I think is probably your safest bet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't gone to bars or anything like that. But
I ended up canceling my gym membership and buying like the knockoff version of the Peloton, the Echelon.
what, dude? Yo, the Peloton's sick. All right, that's pretty dope. I can't lie.
So yeah, now I'm in my house like fucking riding and shit, like scenic routes.
Shit's fresh.
So we're actually rolling right now.
Okay, cool.
This is episode 33 of the Grindhouse podcast. I'm Edwin Cabrera, one of your hosts. Across the screen from me is my homie Chris Martin.
Yep.
And
Back at it.
I got a special guest. This is a good friend of mine, also a filmmaker, and today we're going to talk filmmaking. So my friend Daymian Mejia is here to join us. What up, Dame?
What's going on? What's going on?
D, so the conversation I want to have with you, because our last podcast, Craig and I were talking about kind of opening up the podcast to more than just like musicians to come on, but also like people within hip hop, like the filmmakers, the photographers, the fashion designers, the DJs, so on and so forth. And that's sort of like, this is the beginning of moving towards that direction while, covering a little bit more of the whole community of hip hop rather than just the musicians. So, I wanted to come in and talk to you about just how you got started in filmmaking, what made you get started, and any tips that, people out there who are interested in going into filmmaking but maybe are too afraid to take the leap, giving them some advice to sort of get started.
Yeah.
I wanted to get started first, though, by talking about how the quarantine has affected, I guess, your filmmaking and I guess maybe how that has affected your income. Has that affected anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the beginning of the year, like what I was projecting, like number-wise, in terms of like income was like, I mean, probably like triple what I'm probably gonna make now, right? So it's like there was like a hot streak going on at the time, and like we were in the middle of, I was traveling a lot actually, right? But like I traveled up until the first week of March, and then like the project got canceled, and we just like went right into post-production. So we were supposed to do at least like another like 10 days of shooting for this course that I was working with, and then like we basically cut that dry. So that in itself was like a huge, just a huge shock to everything. And then going.
You're back.
Sorry guys, yeah. Zoom on my
worry.
computer. Sometimes it just like cuts out of nowhere.
It's all good.
Like, I can still hear you the entire time.
I think the last thing we got was you had 10 days left of shooting this thing for your job that you traveled for, and then you got into post-production.
Yeah. I mean, we went into post-production as a not because we wanted to, but because that was the only choice we had. And then from there, I mean, there was a handful of whether it be narrative, music videos, like there was a lot of stuff slated, especially for April. Like April was going to be really hot. And then like everything basically got pushed. And then June, everything got pushed to June, and we were like, okay, maybe June isn't even gonna make sense anyways. So now it's like everyone's trying to pick up the pieces now, trying to figure out like what to do. Is it better just to wait till next year, especially with artists who like have this like massive rollout planned, right? Like there is a lot of projects that I was supposed to be working on with people, and like they all got messed up. And now it's like you still do a rollout, but you're not gonna have the same impact. So it's like, do you just hold on to that project for another year now when you may have already been holding on to it for like a year or two, you know? So that was tricky. Navigating that, it was probably been one of the hardest things. Like income wise, like it's been all right. Truthfully, because like there's been a good amount of editing that has come in, but ultimately, like I think the outlook is like the overall direction is kind of all over the place right now.
Yeah.
Do
you think you're gonna like start filming anytime soon, or like physically?
I'm filming right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm definitely doing. There's a good amount of shooting. Like I've shot.
Nice.
At least this month alone, or I guess in June, I probably shot like 4 music videos. And then this month, my birthday is right around the middle of the month, so I'm probably not gonna shoot anything around then. But I'm probably gonna shoot there's probably be 5 or 6 in total for this month alone too. So. People are shooting. It's definitely limited though, obviously, with like crews and everything like that. So I think people are still trying to figure out how to navigate that in. Like all of the shoots I've done have basically only been outside because of COVID, and like nobody wants to let us into their place. Even Airbnbs are being strict too. So it's like, navigating that has been difficult.
Yeah, and so for people at home who aren't familiar with Daymian's work, Daymian has been, he's been doing his thing, man. Like you, and you're like, what, 22 now?
Yeah, 22 right now. Hit the big 23.
You pretty much just hit the ground running, man. Like you, that's why I'm like, you inspire me just because of how hard you work and how quickly you got to a point where people know your name and want to work with you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, no problem. But if you don't know Daymian's work, Daymian works a lot with Van Buren. He's done videos for Luke Bars. He's done videos for Giles, Lord Felix. Blanche Jackson, you just did a video for recently. Who else have you done a music video for recently? I'm forgetting.
Lior is a part of that.
Part
of that BB list. Lior and I have done something. Matt Mako. Yeah, I don't think through my Vimeo, but there's the list is.
Yeah, man. You got good quality artists that you tend to work with. Tend to work with a lot of Brockton people. I'm curious, how were you able to network yourself to a point where you get like different factions of people hitting you up for work?
Yeah. I honestly, like, I started out just doing as many videos as I could, right? And like I went under the philosophy of like, produce so much bad quality, like just produce so much, like quality over quantity, quantity over quality, essentially. Like I was just trying to learn. So that was like really when I was first starting out, I just did all kinds of videos. I probably did, I think first year I was doing it, I probably shot about 100 videos. And like some of them were all right, some of them weren't that great, but like ultimately only like, I don't know, probably 10 of those actually made it into my reel. Which like obviously that says a lot about like the amount of work I was actually putting in. So in terms of like how I ended up eventually in Brockton, which is like I'd originally hit someone up for a video, and then like they had posted that video, and then at the time I think Brockton was in this weird phase where it was like there was a lot of artists, but there weren't many people doing video yet. So I'd done a video for Stefan called Doozy, and then we had released Doozy, and then I think from there that kind of like started the entire trail of all the videos that were to come. Like Felix and I had worked that year for the first time, and then from there, there was a ton of other Brockton artists that are out there doing their own thing right now. They're in Florida, LA, like they've all moved since then. But that was like really the right part of it, was like trying to basically set my roots with people in Brockton, and now I have a lot of those roots in Brockton, mixed specifically in Brockton, honestly.
Was hip hop music video directing something that you were interested in doing, or do you sort of like fall into it?
I think I was always fascinated by music videos. I was never that into films growing up, and it's mostly because of like a socio-economic thing where it's like I was only able to like really watch bootlegs growing up. So it's like the only bootleg I have is like Rush Hour, which like not to trash Rush Hour, but like that's definitely not like the purest cinema that there is.
Yeah.
Comedy is quality, though.
Yeah, comedy is quality, but like music videos are able to be uploaded to YouTube without any problem.
Yeah.
So it's like there was an infinite amount of music videos that I would watch growing up, and I mean, I didn't start like seriously getting into them until like I started looking at people from like the Directors label, Chris Cunningham, like Gondry, you know, like those, like the OGs.
Yeah.
So that was when I really started to see like, okay, music videos are really cool. Like, how can I make mine that good? Right. And that's still a question that I struggle with today. So it's like, you know, that was like really at the fundamental later in me like discovering the idea of music videos.
Cool.
Can you talk about like sort of what your process is like coming up with music video ideas?
Yeah, I mean, I'm literally like in the middle of like right before this call, like 2 minutes ago, I was like trying to figure out, just trying to like listen to this song, trying to figure out something. Usually, what I do is I just think about like what I'm feeling as of recently. It's like, has there been anything that's like really drawn my attention? Sometimes the artist will come to me with references. For this particular video that I'm doing right now, like artist just said like, here's the song, like give it a listen, let me know what you think. And then I kind of gave them this like rough idea of just like moods, essentially like moods, colors, very like as abstract as it gets. And I can't do that with all clients, but with this client in particular and some clients, I can basically just be very abstract about it. And then from there, I'll dive into more of like the standard process of like pulling online references, pulling stills, putting together like a one-page treatment or multiple-page treatment, depending on the scope of the video. And then from there, it's really just navigating like the ins and outs, trying to figure out from more of a technical side, the budget and all that stuff. But when it comes to creative, it's really just whatever I feel like may honestly be appealing, may fit the artist's image, if they have an image at least. Something that can basically live within their universe and help accent them rather than like kind of go against them.
Cool.
Are you like self-taught when it comes to film, or did you go to like film school or?
I think so. I got into film like officially through this nonprofit in Lynn, Raw Artworks.
Shout out.
So shout out Raw. Yeah, so that was like when I officially like picked up a camera and was like, oh, this thing can do something. But before that, like I would edit these like montage videos for like gamers like way back. So that was like how I got into like just editing.
You started with editing?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. See, I always love to ask filmmakers, like, where did you start writing, editing, shooting? So I feel like has their own beginning.
I started in editing After Effects because After Effects was like, which is like a nightmare. Like, right, like if you think about it now, to like start out in After Effects. I started out in After Effects because I knew that was the way I was going to be able to do like the most effects on my videos. And at the time, like doing those montage game videos, like they were just popping. So it's like, that was like how I kind of started to get into that. And then eventually when I started at Raw, it's like I picked up a camera for the first time. And then fast forward 2 years after me making a bunch of really bad films, I eventually made a music video that I really enjoyed making. And I had just by luck had ended up being the one to like kind of take the lead in that music video. And it was just because of like scheduling there, like it was very hectic and we were trying to shoot. The film was going to premiere in 2 weeks and we shot on Memorial weekend. So it was a lot. So I just so happened to like be the one to step up and do that. And that was like when I really was like, okay, music videos are pretty cool.
Who was the music video for?
It's for this guy named Kale. It's called The Storm. It's still one of my favorite videos to this day because his energy is just amazing. But it was also like, it's such like a nice production quality as well. So that's actually not hip hop at all, but he can actually freestyle really, really good.
Yeah, that video was dope too. I remember seeing that video. That video was pretty dope.
Yeah, that video I love making that video.
And in terms of like, you know, you said you started with editing. Was there a push somewhere where you're like, I want to do more filmmaking things? Like what's the next step in my life? How did that come about?
Honestly, like I didn't figure out the next step until probably 3-4 years after like I had initially started, right? So like I'll put a time frame on it where it's like I started I would say freshman year of high school. That was when I started getting into editing, and by junior year, that was when I started at Raw. And then come senior year, I was like, oh, like I don't really know how I feel about film. I'm gonna go to school for something else. And that something else was like computer science. Just felt safe, like I'm interested in computers. And then basically go through a year of just like not really knowing what I'm gonna do. And then eventually I was like, okay, maybe I might try to do film. So like I save up all of my money and like I go out and buy a camera, right? drop 3 bands on a camera, no lens, nothing at all. And but like honestly, like that camera was like the thing.
Yeah.
It was the A7S II, so it's like the A7S II was like hot and new at the time. And I remember like my mentor had one, and I was like, I think I'm gonna get one, which like definitely not the best idea, but like that camera just gave me a lot of flexibility and a lot of opportunity. So, you know, but yeah, it didn't come until very late afterwards where I was like, I'm gonna actually be a filmmaker.
I have a good question following up this. Can you actually like kind of give us a rundown? You mentioned the camera. What are some like must-haves for someone that is just getting into film?
Yeah. I'm actually like, I'm currently like trying to work on this like music video course, I guess. So like I've been thinking about this question a lot, and it's like what you must have, I guess, is like a camera body, obviously. And that, I mean, that could be the cheapest camera in the world, right? That could be like a little point and shoot camera, as long as it records video. Because then ideally you just need to learn like the fundamentals in theory, or you could even use your phone. But then from there, like if we want to look at it from like the camera body perspective, like you want to have a lens, preferably a zoom lens, so you can have more flexibility. Ideally, you have some type of light kit, but if you don't have a light kit, at the very least, get an ND filter so you can shoot outside and it cannot look like absolute hell. And that's like the bare bones, I think. Like in theory, you could do an entire film just outside. Is it going to look perfect? No, absolutely not, because you can't control the sun. Like you don't have the budget to bring in like a 20 by or something like that. But at the very least, like you can learn exposure, because the sun, you at least know it's going to be out from this time to this time, and it's gonna be like diffused during this time. Like you can play with the weather a lot, and it can give you a lot of opportunity, I think. And that was really how I learned, because I couldn't afford the lights, I couldn't afford anything. So really, what I did is I just did a lot of shoots outside, because that's how I knew I was gonna be able to understand light the most. So really, just studying that outside light can really help as well.
So I'm gonna, in terms of, we talked about the beginning, which is you as an editor. Talked about you becoming your own filmmaker, getting your first camera. Now let's talk about the next leap after that. When was the leap when artists started hitting you up and being like, yo, I want to work with you?
I think it was during that like whole era where I was like working a lot with Brockton artists. That was like when people just like were like nonstop hitting me up. And like it got to the point where I was like, I took a break. I took a break for almost like an entire year, for a variety of reasons, but it was partly because like I couldn't find my voice. Like I felt like I was shooting so much, right? And I was talking about how I was just producing so much content. And for people like the people in Brockton, right? Like I really enjoyed making those music videos, but there were some music videos that I was making that like I just wasn't that interested in. And it was purely just from like experience standpoint. So I wasn't really that down to like involve myself that much. So I took a huge break for about a year, and then I didn't come back onto the scene until right around the time where we shot Lord Felix's Nothing.
Yeah.
That was like when I basically was like reintroduced to it, or not reintroduced, but that was like when I was like, okay, you know what, I'll do this. And I became a lot more selective about who I wanted to work with, and that's why I think I've kind of like filtered out a lot.
I think that's a great segue into like this next question, which is like, what have you learned from your experiences? Because I feel like there's a lot right now from what you just said that you can give to people who are trying to get into it. But like, what are some pitfalls that you want to warn people about?
I think that you can't do it all, right? You can for a while. For a while, you can direct, you can shoot, you can edit, you can produce, you can do all of it. But the chances are, if you're doing that with music videos, like you're not making enough. Like there's no way you're doing all that, because in theory, like you're talking a multi-$1,000 budget if you're doing all that and getting compensated properly. So I think realistically, like as soon as you can, you need to somehow manage to figure out like, okay, what direction do you want to go, right? Like I do a lot of the direction on hip hop music videos, but I'm definitely trying to slowly make my way just into the cinematography, where I'm working with artists and I'm trying to like bring in more and more directors, or just people to even co-direct, because there is just like a relationship that I have with the artist, and they see my quality of work and they think like they don't really know the director that well, so they can't piece 2 and 2 together, which isn't on them. But really, I think like you need to eventually decide like, okay, where are you gonna go? Like, do you want to be a music video editor? Great, then do more of just that. like don't try and do everything, because that like you're gonna burn yourself out very fast.
Some good advice, man. Some good advice.
Thanks.
I feel like everybody, when
From
they
experience.
start, they want to be the auteur, you know? They want to be the one
Literally.
that came up with the idea, that shot the script,
Literally,
that
yeah.
wrote it, that, you know, even acted in it. Some people want to do, you know, they want to do everything. So
Yeah.
I think when you're in this industry long enough, you learn that you can't do everything. You have to sort of decide, you know, what thing that you love the most that you really want to focus on. I mean, it sounds, yeah, I'm not saying to anyone at home, you can't do it all. I mean, there have been people who do, but there's a lot of work behind that. And like you said, like you are missing out on money when you're, you know, taking on the whole thing, you know, and you're working on shooting it, developing it, writing it, editing it. And then the budget for the whole thing was like $1,500. And
right, literally, it's like that's,
yeah,
you know,
was
you're
it
not
worth
making
it?
anything from that.
Yeah, I spent
You're
40
probably
hours
doing like
editing
100 hours.
Yeah,
You're doing over like 100 hours on that thing. Like, you know, the quality might be dope, but even at then, it's like, you know, the quality caps out because you can only do so much. Like, your mental capacity will meet that quality, and the quality is going to fall somewhere below your mental capacity.
Yeah. Yep. Go ahead, Troy. Sorry.
Do you have advice for people like that want to get more gigs, especially like right now with like pandemic? What are some good ways for people to network during a pandemic and try to get more gigs?
Yeah, I think during a pandemic, it's really, you know, obviously you have to kind of do like, I think doing cold calls. That's how I got started. Like a lot of the artists I first worked with, even before Brockton, like I just straight up sent them a message and I was like, here's the like 2 music videos I've done for free. Like, can I work with you, right? And that's strictly for beginners. It's like the idea, I know that the idea of free work has a lot of like stigma behind it, but it can be beneficial, especially if you have absolutely nothing to show for it. So I think that really is just find a group of artists that you think, not even that you think is gonna eventually blow up, just you think that are good, right? Music that you already enjoy. Ideally, you're gonna like working on that as opposed to you doing like, let's say you're really into hip hop, you're not gonna enjoy doing a metal video. Like you're not gonna sit there and edit that entire thing and actually say you like that process. Whereas with hip hop, you know, you might really be able to enjoy it. So I think you need to be able to find artists, just reach out to them, Instagram, Twitter. Like I get so many people that just DM me and they say like, what's your rate? And like right off the bat, like then from there we jump into an email, but like Twitter and Instagram are like honestly 2 really strange like income revenues for me, because like so many people contact me just through there because they see my stuff like on someone's Instagram. So it's like really just connect with people through there, because that's the way that people are listening. That's the way that people want to see your work. So if you can find a friend and shoot a music video with them, like shoot something for free, send that out to a bunch of people, a bunch of artists. If you're looking to do something else in your career, commercials, like shoot a commercial for free, send that out to a bunch of local companies. And then from there, just try and send out as much as you can, because you're going to get endless amount of no's, but a few people will say, yeah, sure, we can shoot something.
Cool.
In terms of like, I was having a conversation recently with somebody who's a photographer. And I was curious in terms of if you had any advice for somebody who's like in the photography field, but wants to go into filmmaking. Do you have any advice for somebody who wants to sort of make that transition?
Yeah, I mean, don't be scared to record, right? Like, understand that for like at the bare fundamentals of it, like video is 24 frames. Therefore, like you need to think about it a lot differently. Like video to photo, in my opinion, is easier than photo to video, because your mind is trained so differently. So you really need to understand that video, there's a lot more that goes into video, right? When you're taking a photo, you can't push the camera in. And that camera, like that dolly in, is going to create an emotion that you can't create with photo. And that's a very like fundamental to cinematography. And in theory, that's what you are as a photographer. You're just a cinematographer at that point. So it's like you can't push a photo in, but what you can do in video, you cannot do with photo. So you need to get a grasp of those elements and to figure out how to best employ them, because you can't do an entire thing on the tripod unless that fits your mood. Because you can light it all that you want, but maybe you should make it handheld. Maybe you should give it more of an emotion rather than just having it be stuck. I feel like that's a huge barrier, because in theory, depending on how experienced a photographer is, like they would know how to light. They may not have the right lights, they may not have strobes or anything like that, but they would have at least the right equipment And then from there, it's just understanding how to enhance their video by using elements like dolly push-ins and things like that.
In terms of let's say you let's use this photographer for example as an example. They finally took that giant leap and they shot their first video, and then they shot their second and third video, and now they've been offered some work, and now they're actually working for some sort of pay, and then that leads to higher paid gigs, and now they find themselves at a level that's much higher than when they started. When you hit that level where you felt like, oh, the budget is higher, the need for equipment is higher, how did you get yourself prepared to do higher budget videos?
That's a good question. Part of it, what you could do, honestly, and I think that this is during that year that I took a break from shooting, I did do a lot of crew work. I think that's probably the best thing you can do. Like, either get on other people's sets. I think that not many people are very friendly to like other filmmakers just jumping in their DMs. Also, it's like chances are like that person doesn't have as much time, but like if you just get on set with them, you can ask them as many questions as you want. So it's like if you can manage to get on other people's sets, typically like whether if it's for free or if you're even there for like 2 hours, right? Just to see what they're setting up and just to get an idea of how they're doing things, that can really help segue you into being able to take that into your own hands. Like that's what I've been doing. That's what I had done. And that's why like when we shot something like Nothing where the budget was higher, it was like, okay, I kind of knew what to do because like I was on so many sets prior to that and I knew what lights. And I think that it's always good practice just to hire people who are going to be better than you, right? Like if you're just a director, hire a cinematographer that knows so much more than you. And that cinematographer can hire a gaffer that knows so much more than him or her, because that way your knowledge level is just so much higher. Even if you don't know a lot, your entire team will know more than you.
That's awesome.
What's your favorite part of filmmaking?
I think it changes a lot. I feel like some days I really enjoy the process of just figuring out how to make something that's like on a very technical level, like in theory, like turning on a light, all these technical aspects and trying to make that creative. It's like, you know, you can do all of these different technical aspects, but then it's like, how do you convert that into something that's going to be appealing to the audience? Because in theory, like camera exposure and everything like that, like it's just science. But it's like, how do you incorporate mood into that science? Is probably at the top right now.
Would you have any advice for growing an aesthetic, developing your own aesthetic?
Copy someone else's at first. Honestly, like find I had worked I had helped like manage an artist for a while, and it was like the first thing I did, I was like, find people that you already like a lot because they're doing it right. Like don't look at your friend's Instagram, don't look at another local artist who maybe is at the same level as you. Look at somebody who's already famous, right? Like if you want to do a case study on, let's say like Kanye West, it's like understand why his Instagram is the way it is, or you know, understand why somebody like Cousin Siz's Instagram is the way that it is. Like steal that. Don't steal his entire aesthetic, but steal the fundamentals of what it is.
You said that you were like you manage an artist. Have you ever tried being a musician yourself?
Honestly, I think secretly the reason why I got into making music videos is because I was just so bad at making music.
So you tried.
So it's like there's like the businessman that's inside of me, and I was like, okay, I can't make music, but I know other people are making music.
Yeah.
So how can I make money?
Yeah.
So it was like there was
Fair.
a part of me that was like, and I think that's just like what's inherently in me. So that was like kind of another reason that drew me to music videos.
Yeah, you and I are very similar, man. I definitely could make, you know, I don't, you know, I don't have that voice to be able to make beautiful music, but you know, I was like, wait, fuck it, let's shoot them instead. If I can't, you know, if you can't do it yourself, might as well join them and shoot it. You know.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, I was honestly best friend. I mean, I've made music, and I used to rap back like in high school, and you can definitely find that stuff online if like you dig deep enough. But yeah, I like dabble with Ableton every now and then. I do like abstract crazy stuff whenever I want.
Yeah.
I had a question. We were having a conversation earlier about, you talking about how you got started, and that you bought this $3,000 camera, and that's the way you got started. And I feel like I forgot how you said it, but I think you said something about like that was a bad decision or something at the time. What made you say that, and what would you do if you could do it all over again? How would you start that process now?
I think there's really two different routes I would go. I would either buy a camera that basically met all of my needs for what I knew, because honestly, that camera did things that like I didn't even know it did. Right? Like I pretty much got that camera because I knew that it was hot. I knew that it was trending. It's a lot like the Black Magics right now. Like there are a lot of people who know about the Black Magics, but like they don't know what they're doing with them. And like I don't look at them in any type of way because it's like I was that guy like a few years ago. So really, I think if I had $3,000 budget, I would be getting a good camera body that met my needs, a decent lens, and more lighting. I would get a good lighting kit because at the same time, like lighting will not depreciate in value. Where it's like that camera went from $3,000 to like $1,200 in 3 years. Where it's like one of the lights that I got it for $800, and I was able to sell it for like $700 within a 3-year span. So like that's just the madness. So from the business side of it, like you need to also investigate on that end, because that's just general business lesson right there.
When it came to, I want to talk about like rental houses real quick. How often do you incorporate renting from rental houses for your music videos or films that you're working on, and why should somebody do that?
I think rental houses, for one, they're really helpful. It's like you can some rental houses at least, like you can basically send them over an email, and you can ask the most ridiculous of questions, and they will give you the nicest answer in the world, and they will explain to you why what you're asking doesn't make sense at all, and maybe what you did mean, and you'll be able to test lenses, camera, all of this type of stuff. Sometimes you have to pay for that, but it's like they will let you do literally everything. And sometimes when you build a good enough connection with them, like they can help you find other crew, other filmmakers. Like that's a huge part of the film community is the rental house. It's like if you hypothetically get like the rental house like shares one of your posts, it's like think about all those filmmakers that are now going to see who you are. Like that's a huge network that you're now being exposed to, and there are other filmmakers thinking the same exact thing as you. Is like, oh, if this person's going to a rental house, they must be serious about their work.
Awesome.
So obviously you've worked with them, Garen, a lot. How did you like actually get linked up with them? And
I think I can't remember the exact backstory. I remember that if I'm to like build a quick chain, it's like first artist I hit up was My Compiled Thoughts. This crazy ball of energy. Dude's just like absolute madness, but he's an amazing person. And then from him, like I was connected with Stefan, and Stefan was a part of Broxton. And then from there, I got connected with Felix. And then the whole like VB thing, it really started to take shape over that time. Like it's something that built over the course of 2 years. And then basically I had connected again with Felix after Sheed had kind of like reconnected everything, Felix's manager. And then from there, that was like when it was like, okay, VB is now kind of taking a new direction. They're gonna try to like not step it up, but they're gonna try to reach something new. And that was like when I basically started shooting stuff for Luke, for Giles, Lior, and all those other artists within that brand label.
How do we, so in looking at like what's been happening sort of recently and changes that we could make as people of color, but also like in our communities, how do we empower our artists as filmmakers, and how do we empower other filmmakers from your point of view? What have you seen that really can help empower and also build community?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best thing is like, as I mentioned earlier, it's like there are some filmmakers who like aren't like they don't like to respond to messages, or sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. In the past, I've had luck with like watching a movie at like a film festival and then like DMing the cinematographer, and like he replies back to me, and I'm like, holy shit, like dude, you are amazing. Like I just saw your stuff like on the big screen. So I'm in the nature of like I'm going to reply to people. Like people DM me pretty regularly, and they'll just ask me like, how do you think this was shot? Or like what camera are you using? Like they'll always ask me these kind of like either fundamental questions or very, very technical questions. And I'm always just going to be like, I'll answer your question, right? Because I think that's so important, is for you to be able to share your knowledge. Like there's the practice, and I think this is slowly dying out because of, honestly, YouTube. But it's like people are so like secretive when it comes to certain things in film. So it's like really the best way to build a community, especially for people of color who may not have access to film school or any of these other networks that are majority white. It's like, it's important for you to be willing to help out people. And that doesn't just mean people of color. That means white people. That means everybody who's just trying to come up. Like you want everyone to come up with you.
Yeah, I hear all the time in the industry is like, you know, if you're an asshole to that PA one day end up being like your boss on another movie.
Literally,
So
like you never know. You never know, man.
D, so you said you had a class that you're teaching. What's that about, and how can people sign up for it if they're interested?
So right now the classes, I'm working on it. It's a work in progress. I don't think it's gonna roll out until next year, if I'll be honest. But it's like an online type of thing. It'll basically be something you can sign up for. It'll be moderately cheap, at least compared to like what other courses are offering. And essentially, it's gonna be something where like I'll help the person walk through making 3 music videos. And ideally, it's for people who don't know how to get started with a music video. They maybe have an iPhone and they want to try to shoot some stuff or test some stuff, and basically like it's so that they have something that they can then send out to artists. They can then connect with other people and be able to say like, hey, I just shot this stuff. Like, do you think you'll hire me? Or like, can we work on something for free? So I'm currently trying to get the pieces together for that. I need to like contact artists, and I'm trying to like make it so that anybody who enrolls can basically have access to the music, and like they could use the music and be able to royalty free and like get that all online, no problem. So there's a lot of back end stuff that needs to happen. But yeah,
That's a sick idea. I love it. That's a sick idea. And that's one way to uplift the community. You know, you offer your knowledge, and then you use that as a building block for themselves to be successful in this industry.
Exactly.
Dope, man. I love it.
All right. So are there any like other projects that you can talk about that you're working on?
Nah, honestly, I was like thinking about this. I was thinking about this right before I came on. It was like I have something with a label that's coming out pretty soon, but I can't say anything about it. It's just like something that is gonna be really dope. I think it's a really dope beginning for something, whether it be with continuing with this artist or just with the label in general. But then from there, I mean, you know, there's gonna be more stuff with VB. I can say that.
Yeah.
You know, like there will be more and more stuff that will come out. There's a short film that will come out in the fall. There's another short film. Hey, I can actually say this. There's gonna be a short film with Luke. Luke and I are currently working on a short film. So Luke Barres will be the lead character in it. It's a psychological thriller. I think it's going to be really amazing. And it'll kind of explore the pressures an artist feels before they release their debut album.
Cool.
Sick.
Yeah, we'll definitely be on the lookout for that.
Yeah,
we definitely love Luke. So,
D, where do you further down the line? Not so much right now, but further down the line, I guess, you know, when you think about where you want to be, where that end goal is, where do you envision yourself being as a filmmaker, place-wise, and also just you know, in terms of what you do and what?
I think location-wise, probably on the West Coast for a while. That's just like where more and more people I know are going. Just feels like there may be a few more opportunities out there. And then from there, I mean, I wouldn't want to stay on the West Coast forever. I think I would want to, whether it be like Vancouver, London, like some of the other hot areas for film, would definitely gravitate into wherever is considered like a more like booming industry. So, I mean, Atlanta has recently come up a lot. Like I've been seriously considering Atlanta recently.
It's cheaper over there.
yeah,
It's so cheap, dude. A house. Oh my god, I was looking at the houses the other day. And then I think I know for real. And then I think in terms of just like department wise, probably more on the cinematography end. I think I'll definitely, you know, I think I do have the end goal of like getting to the point where it's like I'm directing every now and then, but more so trying to focus on the cinematography aspect.
Cool. Awesome. Good. Any last questions?
Quick question. What's your favorite film? I know it is a tough question because there's so many films.
Yeah, there's I need about 10 seconds to think about this as I scroll through my letterbox.
This is low key like every filmmaker's like annoying question.
That's why I had to ask it.
There's never just one. There's always like a whole slew. It's like
Yeah.
it's like if
It
you,
always like depends on like what I'm feeling in the moment. Arrival, maybe.
cool. Yeah.
I really like
Cool.
Arrival. Like Ex Machina is amazing. I recently saw Prisoners for the first time. That like blew me away. But yeah, I think those ones. Barba too. Barba. There we go. I gave you 4 instead of 1.
Boom.
Awesome.
Just
Well,
'cause, like, I
yeah, we'll take
can't
it.
decide.
And so we'll close out. So thank you so much, honestly, for joining us and talking about your work, and also just giving some advice to the people who want to get involved in the industry on the film level as opposed to on the music side of things. Is how can people reach out to you if they want you to shoot their video or they want to work with you in some capacity?
I think the best way, honestly, is just to start the conversation through Instagram. It's just my name, which may be within this Zoom call. No spaces. It's just Daymian Mejia. On Instagram, just send me a DM. That's definitely the best way to get it rolling. My email is also in there. I do prefer email, but I do understand that people like to just shoot DMs now. So I've adjusted to the culture. It's the way of the world. Yeah. So, you know, I would prefer an email, but you can reach me through Instagram. If you have any just general film questions.
And what was your email?
So it's projectayd@gmail.com. That's also in my Instagram bio though, so you can just visit the Instagram, and if there you'll be able to progress through that.
Sweet. Well, Daymian, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I
Thank
appreciate it a lot.
Word, man. Yeah, we'll have to talk soon. We'll have to hang soon too.
Word, yeah, dude. I gotta check out that new spot. So
Yeah.
COVID messed everything up.
Yeah, it really fucking did, honestly. It really did. Dude, I haven't had, the only visitors I've had in the past 4 months have been like my cousin and his girlfriend. That's the only, like, outside of family, that's the only people that dropped in on me so far.
Yeah, man.
But hopefully we get to see each other soon, because I'm going a little nuts over here.
I feel that, man. All right, I'll talk to you later.
All right, bro.
All right, man. Take care.
You guys have a good one. Bye.
You too.